All right, welcome everyone to the Scituate Planning Board, Thursday, November 4th, 2021, in the Select Board Hearing Room. I'll entertain a motion to approve the agenda.
So moved.
Is there a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Thank you all. We now have a public hearing, special permit accessory dwelling for 65 Booth Hill Road, Assessor's Map Block, Lot 19-3-2-0, applicant owner John J. and Linda M. Adams, trustees. In accordance with Mass General Laws, Chapter 40A, Sections 9 and 11, and with Scituate zoning bylaw, Section 530, accessory dwelling special permit, and Section 940 referrals, the Planning Board will conduct a public hearing at 6:30 p.m. on Thursday, November 4, 2021, in the Select Board's hearing room at Town Hall, 600 Chief Justice Cushing Highway. The subject of the hearing is an application submitted by applicant owners John J. Adams and Linda M. Adams, trustees of the J and L Realty Trust, for an accessory dwelling special permit in an existing detached barn at property located at 65 Booth Hill Road, Scituate. Property as shown on Assessor's Map /block/parcel 19-3-2-0. Plans are available for review in the planning office, etc., etc. Okay. You're on, Michael.
Thank you, and good evening. My name is Mike Hayes, and I'm assisting my brother and sister-in-law this evening on their application. As you can tell from the application, this is really an application to finish the first floor of their existing barn that's been there since the early 1800s, as well as their home. Since they purchased the property, Linda Adams, along with her daughter Wendy, maintains a horse farm there. Would be giving riding lessons and summer camps and those types of things. And they have kept, on an average, of 7 horses there. The property is almost a 4-acre piece of property. It's a beautiful old farmhouse and barn, and what's gone on, and we're requesting that you help this family, is their daughter Wendy, who is the main worker on the farm, as Linda has retired in the last year or so, has had 2 severe horse-related injuries, which her first was resulted in a traumatic brain injury, and her second, she was trampled by a thoroughbred she was exercising. And she is doing great. She's doing fine. She is, but the business operation of the farm, as to lessons and rides, has been curtailed or ceased because of her condition and Linda's age. So the proposal is to put an accessory dwelling in the first floor of the old barn, which contained a total of 7 stalls, but the plan is to take 4 of those stalls out, and they have 3 family horses that they are part of their family that will remain in the 3 stalls behind the building on the rear side of the building. Wendy and her husband Sean will be of great assistance as far as handicap bathrooms, 1-story living, their children. It's a very close family, and I've lived with them at times. Everybody lives with everybody, and the net result will be that their family will be based socially pretty much in the house. Sean and Wendy will retire to their accessory dwelling, and the children who are in high school will sleep in the main house with their grandparents. So it will work perfectly for them. So that's what we're asking for. We are making no changes, no structural changes or anything else. We have not expanded any any building or raised any building. We're just putting in windows in the barn, new windows in the barn that match the new windows that had previously been put into the 1828 farmhouse. I don't know if you've driven by, it looks spectacular. I'd be happy to go through the bylaw with you, or just, if you have any questions, I'd be happy to answer.
Thank you. Karen?
This accessory dwelling is in a detached structure that meets all the setbacks, height requirements, it meets all the requirements that way. It's going to be approximately 1,153 square feet. It's 38.3% of the total square footage of the primary dwelling, so it meets the bylaw. They've had a bathroom in there for decades, so they don't need to run separate water and sewer, a separate water line out there. It's on septic. The septic is fine, so I would recommend that you approve it.
And I looked at the plan, and there's a way in and a way out. That's my big thing.
Yes.
I like to know.
Yes.
I forgot, there is a chicken coop there.
I saw the
and
chicken coop.
One of the exits will be
By the
right
chicken
by the
coop.
chicken coop, yes.
But I know it's very...
No, there's a chicken coop?
Yeah.
Oh, that's not gonna work.
No.
Great eggs.
I used to see that, are there still chickens?
Oh,
yeah.
I've seen them scooting around in front of the fence occasionally.
yes, we had to get rid of a couple of roosters, but our hens now are pretty good. They stay out back
Well,
most.
that's a good place for them.
Yes.
Okay. All right, I'll open it up to the board for discussion. Rebecca?
I'm good.
Steve?
Just a question on parking. I assume you looked at that already, Karen?
Yeah, they have plenty of parking in the driveway.
There are two dedicated parking spaces to the east of the barn that are on the plan. The proposed site plan.
Okay.
Bob?
No issues.
Ben?
No, I don't have any questions.
Nothing.
This is a public hearing. Is the public here?
Public is here.
Public's here. Okay. All right. Outside lighting, what have you, faces down, won't spill anywhere.
Yep.
Okay.
What I did previous, early summer, was I got a permit to do the shingling in the windows. And that's why because I could. I could do that part. Thanks.
All right.
Looks nice.
I move to make the following findings of fact. One, on September 24th, 2021, John J. Adams and Linda M. Adams, trustees of the J&L Realty Trust, applied for a special permit for detached accessory dwelling at the property of 65 Booth Hill Road. 2, according to the Town of Scituate Assessor's records and the deed, the property at 65 Booth Hill Road is owned by John J. and Linda M. Adams. Based on a floor plan submitted by the applicant, the floor area of the proposed accessory dwelling will be approximately 1,153 square feet. The application indicates this is 38.3% of the total square footage of the primary dwelling, which is 3,007 square feet, according to the applicant and the assessor's card. This meets the size requirements of 530.2F of the zoning bylaw for accessory dwellings, as the bylaw allows 750 square feet or 40% of the total square footage of the primary dwelling, whichever is greater. The accessory dwelling is subordinate to the existing single-family home. 4, the accessory dwelling unit will be a complete, separate housekeeping unit, and there will be only one accessory dwelling on the lot. 5, the property is in the residential R1 zoning district, wireless communications overlay district. The proposed detached accessory dwelling structure meets all the setbacks, building height, and yard requirements for a primary dwelling. The proposed accessory dwelling is to be located in the existing barn on the property. Access will be via a front door and from a mudroom door on the west side of the dwelling. 7, the appearance of the accessory dwelling will be in keeping with the appearance of the primary dwelling. 8, the plan of land for 65 Booth Hill Road, Scituate, Mass. by Atlantic Coast Engineering, LLC, shows the location of the existing primary dwelling and the proposed accessory dwelling. The plan shows a gravel circular driveway connecting to an asphalt driveway with 2 new proposed parking spaces for the accessory dwelling. This appears adequate to provide 2 parking spaces for the primary dwelling and 2 spaces for the accessory dwelling. Ample parking appears to be provided. 9, the owners have submitted a signed notarized statement that they will occupy one of the units at 65 Booth Hill Road. 10, the accessory dwelling will be serviced by town water. The water department has commented that a separate water connection will not be required as the barn has been using utilities from the primary house for decades. 11, the addition of the 1-bedroom accessory dwelling is within the current capacity of the existing septic system. 12, the application meets the standards of the Scituate zoning bylaw for an accessory dwelling special permit. Okay. Is there a
Second.
discussion? None, okay. All those in favor of the findings of fact?
Aye.
I move to approve the special permit for an accessory dwelling at 65 Booth Hill Road with the following conditions, in addition to the standard conditions for accessory dwellings approved by the planning board after a public hearing on 12/17/15. Except for any changes necessary to meet these conditions, any construction shall substantially conform to architectural plans for the Booth Hill Farm residence, 65 Booth Hill Road, Scituate, Mass., consisting of 3 plan sheets, including existing first floor plan A1.1, proposed floor plan A1.2, existing second floor plan, plan of land for 65 Booth Hill Road in Scituate, Mass. By Atlantic Coast Engineering, LLC, dated September 2021. 2, the number of bedrooms in the accessory dwelling is limited to 1 in the location and size indicated on the floor plan submitted with the application. 3, no further expansion of the accessory dwelling floor area is allowed without further review by the planning board. 4, upon occupancy of the accessory dwelling, the applicant shall provide a notarized affidavit that he's living in one of the dwelling units. A yearly certification that the owner occupies one of the dwelling units must be provided by March 1st, yearly. 5, all requirements of the Board of Health, Building Department, Zoning Board of Appeals, Department of Public Works, Fire Department, and other town agencies must be met prior to occupancy of the accessory dwelling. 6, the accessory dwelling shall conform to all applicable standards in the building, plumbing, electrical, mechanical, fire, and health codes and bylaws. 7, water connection must meet all requirements of the DPW Water Division for the accessory dwelling. The DPW is not requiring a separate water service for the accessory dwelling. 8, any lighting installed shall be downlighting to not shed light on abutting properties. 9, construction shall not begin prior to 7 a.m. weekdays and 8 a.m. on Saturdays, and shall cease no later than 7 p.m. or sunset, whichever is earlier. No construction shall take place on Sundays or legal state and federal holidays. Construction includes idling of vehicles, delivery of materials to the site, and all other construction activities. 10, runoff from the proposed accessory dwelling shall not be increased from the property. 11, erosion and sedimentation control devices shall be installed to prevent any erosion or sedimentation from leaving the site during construction. Silk sock shall be used as necessary. Is there a second?
Second.
Further discussion?
Good luck.
All those in
Thanks.
favor?
Aye.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Very much. It took longer to read this than it did to do anything else.
This is a great thing for this family. so.
Excuse me?
It's a great thing for this family. so.
Well, you know what, good luck, and hope all works out.
Yeah.
My daughter, who had the injury, also just got a job at the high school, junior high cafeteria.
Oh,
So
nice.
she's working now, a great, perfect job for her.
Good.
We've been lucky, yes.
I'll try
Yes.
to get the decision filed tomorrow, so
Great.
then that will begin the appeal period.
Yes, and then we'll get, when that's up, and we'll get it recorded.
Yeah, but then when it's up, I'll sign up on the building permit.
Terrific.
Okay.
Thank you, Karen. Thanks. Thank you all.
Thank you.
Thank you.
See you soon.
Is your warrant the same, Mike?
this one?
Oh,
All right.
I might as well just have you guys sign this now.
Sure.
Just get it. There we go.
No, I'm sorry.
Yep.
I'm going to let go with my right hand.
Okay.
All right?
There we go.
Push Linda. I'm sorry.
Don't apologize.
No, no,
Do not.
I'm going to go down.
going down.
Get a push.
All right.
All right, so I gotta do it better this time. Yeah.
It's just I got to get all the way up.
Yep.
Ready? Maybe Steve on one side.
Give me one hand.
I keep having to wait for one second. I need to have my crutches where I'm going.
Yep. Got it?
It only took 3.
That's okay.
All right, wait a minute. Do we need to help you get into your car?
No, I'm fine. Getting up and down is my problem.
Okay.
You all set?
Higher chair next time.
Appreciate it. Yeah.
Thanks. Thank you very much.
Make sure we have a
And
higher.
no apologies necessary.
Next time we'll have a higher chair. Yeah, let's remember that. Okay.
All right, good night.
Thank you so
Night,
much.
thank you.
God bless.
There you go. Sign it, pass it on.
He said he's been really struggling with orthopedic issue for the last 17 months.
How's your mom? She's so pretty good. Good. I used to do that. Really? It's fun, yeah.
3 separate surgeries and ended up
In the old days.
in a facility for at least 6 months or 6 weeks.
Good. You look great. Are you a senior? No, I graduated some He's doing pretty good. Yeah.
All right, we have 10 minutes. What would you like us to talk about? Sure. Go ahead.
I move to approve the requisition of $250 to CAI Technologies for zoning map updates on GIS Viewer.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
All
I
right,
should have read that in
minutes?
pennies.
No minutes. Okay.
Not enough time.
Just one. And there's no-
Just sign it.
Sign it. Done with it.
Signed it.
I used it before I saw you sign it.
Okay, what
It's a
else?
light week, because we had a meeting last week, so.
I know, okay.
Okay. What is this like? That's why we switched the. Sure.
That's why we're having it.
That's why we're having.
That's for your personal use.
And the 7 o'clock isn't here.
Well, is there any liaison reports?
Patty, do you want to talk about what we did the other afternoon?
Me?
You?
No, not yet, I don't,
Not yet?
no.
All right. CPC meets on Monday. We have a laundry list of things that we will be going over, plus there are some, what do you call it, rescissions, money coming back into the fund, and so on. So that is Monday night. And then Tuesday night is traffic rules and regulations, and one of the items on their agenda is 533 Country Way. And I think that's all of them.
Did the selectmen vote?
Yes, the selectmen voted, and as far as I know, everything was done the way it should be. The money is there
Street.
for Border Street. So I was at the meeting, and there was some letter, and I checked in yesterday with Michelle Sikazi, and the letter was there. So everything has been squared away. The other issue I discovered, and with the property down on First Cliff, that property. One of the heirs, if you will, his wife died, he has another wife, and they don't want to sell their property, or they want more money, or whatever. But apparently, it's landlocked. And so, from what I have discerned from people I have spoken with, CPC is going to go forward, and we will just buy everything else but this one little lot, because we have to go forward. So we have everything else set, but that one little piece that they won't be able to do anything with.
How big is the piece?
Haven't a clue, but we'll find out.
Okay.
Okay? So that's what's new in that neck of the woods. And as far as, I keep asking about the Mordecai Lincoln property, and I wish we had a P&S on that, but I'm not sure that we do at this point in time. So, but there were issues with COVID, and there were issues with getting the place cleaned out, and so on and so on. So I'll find out a lot more on Monday night about who's doing what with whom. Okay? And the other interesting tidbit, I noticed on Facebook that somebody who had attended and thanked everybody for the Border Street purchase and wanted to know why the planning board had approved a 21-unit condominium at the Rotary. And, you know,
We haven't.
we haven't. And I love misinformation. I really do,
Tell
truly.
the whole world, tell all TV, we haven't done that.
No, we have not done that. And I was going to respond, and then I decided, no. I will not respond on Facebook, ever. So, for all of you watching, if you are in fact watching, it's in the process. We have not approved anything as far as 7 New Driftway is concerned. They have some hoops they have to jump through before this can go forward. Am I correct, Karen?
Not correct.
Okay. So that's all the news that's fit to print. Does anybody have anything else?
It's like everybody has power, all the trees are still down on the west end, the wires are still down on Doctor's Hill, that's all we know.
Do they have power on Doctor's Hill?
Yeah, finally, I think, but like Karen, like Sunday night, it was really late. All of that side of 3A had no power as of Sunday when I was going to the transfer station, not the dump.
It'll always be the dump.
And they were a long time without power, but I think they were up there taking down more trees, another stand of trees. They lit them right over the thing, so.
Oh, they cleared all the stuff on the sidewalk and in the cul-de-sac in my neighborhood. But the big pieces are still there. And the sidewalk, which is in the right-of-way on Pennycrest, it ripped up the pavement. Of course, those trees never should have been planted in the first place. And when the next one comes down, it'll be in my front yard and take out the wires yet again. It's just a matter of time. How did you fare?
We did all right. I think we got power back after 4 days. We didn't lose many trees, but we lost a lot of limbs, a lot of big limbs. So the roots held, but the limbs came down, but basically clean.
When did you get power back? On Saturday?
So, yeah. Yes, Saturday.
Wow.
Saturday afternoon. Yep.
That's a long time.
Well, so there's a power connection that, the power got from the 3A Rotary down, going south towards Kennedy's, down to about Oro and the Knights of Columbus. But there's a big box on the, I can't remember what the transistor box or something, but on the light pole that was broken, so that was what took us going like south from Knights of Columbus. That's what it took to get the power back. And about 4 trucks showed up on Saturday afternoon and kind of blocked off the road. They knocked it out really quick.
I don't think Third Cliff didn't get it, probably the same time you did then, about Saturday afternoon.
How did you fare, Rebecca?
We got it, we got a generator running.
Yeah, I have one too.
He was
Yeah.
in seconds.
That was good, and then we got power, but we were too afraid to turn the generator off, because we were like, maybe it's not the generator, but, we did get power Thursday.
Yeah. Well, there was power when I got home from the meeting.
Yeah, me too. Mhm.
It was there.
So the only thing I lost was my good ice cream, that was it.
Yeah, we can always buy more good.
I
ice
did,
cream.
I already did that. I did that yesterday.
And Karen didn't have power until
Forever.
late Sunday.
Late Sunday.
It's terrible, terrible.
Do you have a generator or not?
Not yet.
Getting
A small one for just that, we just took the fridge and the sump pump.
And Ben, how about you?
Knuckle was probably,
This time we're out till Thursday night.
oh, yeah. Oh, living on the coast. So I did want to ask that, so somebody might be able to answer this for me. Since the bill did not pass through Congress, I had heard that our water treatment plant was directly tied to that giant infrastructure bill. So do we know anything about that? Have you heard anything about that?
Nobody's passed a giant infrastructure bill, I can tell you that. I'm sure there's monies in it for,
But
you
the,
know,
There was nothing like in stone as far as like, you know, specifically earmarked funds for anything, actually. Like, I know we were like, in my day job, we were all getting excited because, oh, we're gonna get a whole lot of money, like rehab a bunch of dams in New England, but that, I don't know, it
I
was
think it's
never
mostly
actually.
for block grant type money. It's not,
Yeah.
Okay.
it's not targeted to a particular town or anything
No,
like
just-
that.
okay, so you
But it is
have-
targeted to particular kinds of infrastructure,
Okay.
so wastewater treatment is one of those components. Water
I
supply,
did like
too.
get the answer there.
but I also heard that the state has money that they need to distribute.
They do.
And what are they gonna do with it? Because it's quite a bit of money.
Yeah, I think whatever the typical grant process or however the funds are dispersed, like to the towns under like a usual basis, that's how it is. But it's a matter of asking the right people or going to the right offices. But I know that, yeah, they've only, for a lot of programs, they've only dispersed like about 10% of the funds. And this is from like the last, a lot of these like COVID specific funds are only like at 10%, 15% dispersed. Like, there's still a lot of money, like,
They're
in the
sitting on
system.
it.
Yeah.
Maybe we'll ask the Director of Planning and Development to write a grant. Just ask. That could go out to TV land too. Okay.
Okay. All right. We're gonna go by that clock. It's 7 o'clock. We have a discussion, vote, minor change, residential compound development, 485 Country Way. Gentlemen,
Evening.
would you please identify yourselves? And
Kevin Grady from Grady Consulting, along with Andy Nader.
Andy Nader and
Tony Nader.
all right, and you are in for some minor changes. Karen?
I asked them to come in because per the conditions in the special permit, condition 10 says the location and footprint of each building shall be in general conformance with the layouts of each building shown on the drawings. Any proposed changes to such layout shall require approval of the board, who will determine if the change is insignificant or requires a modification of the special permit. And then condition 11, individual site plan shall be submitted for each lot prior to application for a building permit with the intent of preserving trees on individual lots. The site engineer and landscape architect shall review the lots in the field prior to clearing in consultation with the town planner and/or planning board. So maybe if I could I'll just quickly address item 11 before we get into item 10. I did walk the site. Unfortunately, there's really no trees that can be retained because it's all in the areas that have to be graded. So it's unfortunate, but you don't want to save a tree and have it be impacted by 3 or 4 feet of fill and then have it come down. So, so that's where we are on that. So I'll let them discuss the details of the location and footprint of each building.
Do you want to talk about the locations? Should I bring up the?
Yeah, you want to pull up the plan?
Yeah.
So I know it's hard to see from afar, but what Kevin has here is,
This is the approved location from the original subdivision. You can see that.
Yep.
I'll go to the same scale sheet here. It's probably hard to see maybe I can bring it up. The brown is what we're proposing now. Under the brown, there's dashed lines where the old approved footprints were. So it's probably best, can you guys see that? Or do you have a highlighter? That might be able to-
It's okay, I do.
Okay. So, general shape, the widths are very similar. Instead of having a bump out on the front, there's a bump out on the back. Farmer's porch, this is a farmer's porch, we basically copied the house next door. It was a large footprint. And for the development, we don't know what the builders are gonna bring in for houses, so we have to start from somewhere, right? So we started with that footprint. Now they've had an architect design their house plans and elevations, et cetera. Again, houses are similar width, they have a front porch, garages on main level. We've cited them in the general location of the approved plans. There's really not a lot of room to maneuver them because of the infrastructure, roadway, drainage basin, septics.
Yeah.
As far as
This is just
square
lot
footage
five,
change as to what was submitted and what,
I'm looking for
what was
that.
approved and what we've submitted, we'd sent over an early analysis that's between 8 and 10% on the first floor, the floor plan changes. And then Kevin has run his calculations on all of the drainage systems to confirm that any changes to
Can you
material
bring that map back up again, please?
won't have a detrimental effect on the system.
That's just lot 5.
I
huh?
know,
I'm not
but
an
I think you
engineer and I'm not
scooted
an
up a...
architect. Can you tell me what 10 feet
this is
difference
the
is, how big
before
is the
and
floor
after.
gonna be?
The floor
That's
plan
the original, or
is,
that's a blow up of that.
Did
I
you
have
guys
1
like
through 4,
this?
I have 1 through 4. so
Oh,
just-
okay, see if you can find it.
Yeah. Let me see if I
the
can-
first floor plan is 1,668 square feet. They're all relatively close. That's for lot 1.
Right, so this likely,
So this is lot 1.
They're right around that number. Lot 2,
And this is your new
See
design.
the dash line
So
he's
what was
talking
the old
about.
design? I guess is what
I
I'm
was
asking
concerned
you.
when I looked at their plans,
the
at
old
how
design-
close
Give me
the
one
driveways
second.
were.
That was
See,
submitted as
we'll
the
just back up a
as-built.
little bit. See how close it is?
Oh, to the
Yes,
next,
to number
there was no as-built submitted, we just had,
This
so when,
doesn't really-
yeah, so when he submitted, he took the
This
floor
doesn't
plan
really matter
from the
as long as
Merritt's
they-
adjacent home and copied it
consistent
throughout
with
the neighborhood, so
sort
they
of
were
storm
all
management or-
approximately
two. So you don't care about that? It just looks like a landing
2,024 square
pad.
feet.
yeah, I don't know if you can do anything about it.
I excluded garage when I gave you that other number, 1668. 2024 versus 2197,
Those
two.
including the garage.
3.
And just see what.
So an increase of about 100 square feet.
A little bit more than that, but yeah.
Is there any way you could bring, we can't see that one, maybe if you could just bring it in front of the side would be really helpful.
You want me to go get a highlighter? I can go get a
If we could just
highlighter.
see it up, right, because I just think
Okay.
it's the three of us that can't really see.
the dash lines, this one didn't dash for some reason.
Oh, okay.
That's the approved location for this one. Brown's proposed, approved location. This one was rotated. This one's generally in the same.
And why are they changing?
We used a generic footprint for the development from here to permit the residential compound development.
The house that was used for the footprint was the adjacent home next door to these homes.
Yeah, we know
Mr. Merritt's son's
Mr.
house.
Merritt's house.
Yep.
No, yeah.
His son's house, yes.
As I was saying, we don't know what Mr. Merritt was planning on selling this all along. We don't know who the next person is, so we have to start.
This
with-
is lot 1, 2, 3,
Correct.
and then what, 4, 5?
Correct.
So this one's different now in that is on the other side?
Driveway's on the same side.
Yep.
Yeah, that's the garage back here, in this case. Driveway's shown in dark as well. Porch is similar, that's a porch on the Merritt's house.
So I might have missed it, but net, how much additional impervious surfaces is?
Do you recall that number? There's,
So approximately, you were saying 100 square
So,
feet?
that's in the building.
So
the
Kevin,
driveway's changed.
when he did his calculation, he included an additional buffer. I think with the buffer he built in, it was 15% total.
I just couldn't get on.
Was this Countryway analysis that you were
Yes.
talking about?
Yes, that's the
Okay.
Countryway analysis.
Yeah.
All right. So it actually looks like it's going down then.
The
Is that right?
impervious? No,
Yeah.
we were a percentage over what we had shown on this plan. But then I ran the stormwater analysis for the basins, and there was additional capacity in the drainage basin. I ran it right up to the lowest outlet, and I was
I
able...
just totaled up your numbers on this sheet, and I, unless I did it wrong, I got 1,974 square foot reduction for the driveways and 920 square feet addition for the houses.
Oh, I'm sorry, are you looking at an Excel table?
Yeah,
Okay, he's referencing a different document. So he has his engineering analysis that does the calculations and all the impervious material. Yeah, this is our analysis of the floor plans and the driveways. That's correct. So the driveways, as you see on lots 1, I don't know what it is, lots 1 and 3, the total volume of driveway decreased.
square footage, right?
Square footage. Lot 1 decreased, lot 2 slightly increased.
Right.
Lot 1 decreased about 30%, lot 2 increased about 7%, lot 3 decreased about 24%, lot 4 is net even,
Yeah.
lot 5 decreased about 23%.
Right, so that's the one I was totaling. It
Sorry,
looks like
I
a total
apologize.
of 1,974 square foot less.
Right.
And then the houses, when you total that up, that's 920 square feet in addition. So it's a net 1,000 square feet less.
So that's,
Are we not relying on these numbers?
we are, but when the engineering analysis was done for all of the calculation on the impervious material, he includes.
I looked at what we had proposed initially and the post, and John's got his numbers here. He's saying the plan proposes an increase of 4,000 square feet.
Oh, that's completely different than this spreadsheet
But
then.
The stormwater basin is designed to handle that increase. We did the analysis on the existing construction, on the as-built, and we were able to add an allowance of an additional 8,000 square feet per lot. So the stormwater system can handle the increase, excuse me.
Okay. I'm a bit confused because now I have two watches and I don't know what time it is. This one says you went down 1,000 and John Chesia said you went up 4,000.
So in the analysis that I provided you, that was a takeoff from our plans of the floor plans themselves and the driveways themselves. When the engineering analysis was done, based off of the original design, correct me where I'm wrong, they have to include the impervious area added for the porches that are around the fronts of the homes, which is excluded from the floor plan, because that's not, on the floor plans, that's not, it's on
So
the
did you
exterior of the
add
house.
porches? Is that what you're saying?
There were porches in the front, but there's additional area for the porches, as you'll,
So I took a conservative approach. The porches are actually on footings, they're not foundations, so there is ground under them.
Right.
I included that as impervious for the whole thing, where he may not.
Yeah, I'm just trying to reconcile what you submitted versus what John's saying.
Understood. I didn't print my drainage calcs, and I didn't realize the impervious coverage was gonna be the topic. I thought it would be more relative to whether or not the drainage system can handle it.
Well, that's question number 2. So on this is a new porch that wasn't there before?
Well,
A covered porch?
These are completely different architecturals.
No, from a square footage point of view, though.
correct, in that Excel table, that's not included.
So the porch is in the front and the back? Is it just in the front or the back?
The back is a deck, I believe, and a corner porch.
Okay. So that's where John's getting the change then?
Yeah, John got the numbers from my drainage calculations and reported them back in his letter.
Okay.
And his are probably plus or minus a few feet. I don't know if I did it in square feet or acres without the data.
So it's appropriate that you would call a covered porch impervious anyway?
Yeah, for the
Yeah,
purpose.
so it would only be a deck that drains through it to the ground that's more pervious. Okay.
Are you able to read that on the fly? There's your email.
Okay.
It's on the touch screen, sorry.
Yeah, no, it's not. Let's see.
So can you speak to John's first comment about the inconsistencies he talked about here? On his
On November 3rd letter from today?
November 3rd, yeah.
Yep. I talked to him today about this, and let's see. The print for the post-development plan wasn't the clearest. I probably printed it hastily, and he probably had difficulty reading it. What we talked about was connecting up the roof drains so that the overflow outlet was over near the garage here on lot 4, so that if it overflowed,
That's lot 3, right?
I thought that was
sorry, lot 3. If it overflowed, it wound up in basin 1.
Isn't it going to a dry well?
So the drainage analysis was done, so we're required to have dry wells under the zoning bylaw for the first inch of rain. We were asked to design the system to ignore the dry wells because the dry wells aren't going to necessarily be maintained by the homeowners. So the analysis doesn't utilize the dry wells at all. So I didn't even.
So
consider
that's
that.
all considered just runoff then?
It is.
Okay.
It is. So it's a conservative approach again.
Mhm.
So he had trouble, I think this porch was not on his plan, so he had trouble following what my roof lines are on the. For a sec. So we had trouble following the roof lines basically in this area here. I talked to him today and he indicated he was not overly concerned with it, that my solution of having a outlet, so basically you interconnect the downspouts under the ground and when they surcharge, you outlet it here to guarantee that it goes to the basin, because the basin has more capacity than the
Swale.
water trenches that we have around here. That's what he's basically asking, and I talked to him.
That's overground flow to the
Yes.
basin?
Yes. And I'm not sure if he recalled that the dry wells were not considered in the analysis. So we're gonna have gutters and downspouts, and it's gonna connect, and we'll be able to manage the outflow from there. And we can do the same thing for 4.
All right, would you go back to the sheet with the new those? According to our residential cluster district,
This is a residential compound.
all right, which one it,
Compound.
I understand, I'm trying to find,
it's in a random spot.
610 something.
Oh, all
It
right.
doesn't stand by itself.
It doesn't?
It's in another chapter.
Yeah, 610, to, 610, page 99, residential compound developments.
Okay. All right. Preserve the semi-rural character of the town, and yet, as Karen said, you had, the trees are gone.
We went out and looked at them multiple
Right.
times.
Okay. My only concern really are the driveways are, some of them are right on the property line. I mean, there's not much room between the, there is no room.
Right.
They're right on,
We have a 50-foot
okay,
buffer from this side. This lot is fairly narrow, and we have wetlands on this side. So we are preserving the woods for
I understand.
majority of the site.
But it's just that, that's a lot of pavement.
Again, as originally designed, they were very tight because, you know, in the approval notes, it's noted that in discussions with the town, the decision opted for a shorter road and narrower lots in order to have the 5 houses. And that results in tighter lots. We don't have as much space side to side. Originally, we didn't have much clearance. Lot 2 is right on the property line. Lot 3 had a few feet that has moved over since the house was rotated slightly away from the wetlands and pulled away from Aberdeen.
Trying to create good-sized backyards. They believe that, you know, that buyers are interested in a large backyard. For example, here, this layout had a larger front yard. So with the buffer here, they think that one house forward.
Yeah, that way they could put in a pool.
It also creates additional buffer from Aberdeen, and I know the initial comments from the residents on Aberdeen were, they were apprehensive about how close the homes were, and I think it's a net positive for the abutters that the houses are slightly further away as originally submitted.
Okay.
I bet you can't put a pool in there. I bet.
All right, Karen, do you have anything you want to add to this, please?
I just thought they should come before the board so you guys could make the determination if the change is insignificant or requires a modification. It's not my call. The planning board is the one who issued the permit.
Okay. All right, Steve?
So let's go to the second question. Right, so in terms of the system stormwater performance, no changes in velocity or volume on any of the property lines?
Correct, actually, that basin holds the 100-year storm, and so does the one in the front. So there's no discharge until you get to a really large storm, and the discharge is in the interior. It's really a pretty conservative design with the drainage basins oversized, and the dry wells aren't even included.
Okay, so no change then?
Correct.
No change, all right.
Can I just add something? Obviously, we want to do what's right here. We're running into a situation where the weather's changing on us, and if we could just move forward with the next phase, that would be great, so that we can anticipate getting our foundations in the ground and start with the work before the weather really changes in the wrong direction, which is really delaying us. It would delay us. And that would be, not anybody's concern but ours, but it would be an expensive delay for us. So as far as we're concerned, these are minor changes to the plans. And as Andrew noted, moving the houses forward a little bit actually moves the house away from the butters, which is what they all complained about. And then the fact that the lots are a little bit skinnier than we anticipated, we're kind of stuck with the way it is right now. So we're here to ask for your approval.
Rebecca?
So there, in theory, right, there's less driveway because you're closer to the road, you're closer to the front?
Correct. On lots 1 and 3.
There's left driveway but more house. Is
Yep.
what we're talking about, right?
Correct.
100 square feet is a laundry room.
I like the idea. I think that, making the driveways more efficient to cut down on that, on the driveway size, and then adding back into the house sounds good, as long as the stormwater, the drainage, remains within like the performance metrics. Sounds good to me.
Ben?
As far as the buildings and driveways are concerned, as long as the drainage works, then I think I'm okay with that.
Okay.
I do have to say, though, that I don't know if it's pertinent at this point in time, but I must say that I'm pretty disappointed to see the building lots and the fact that there wasn't more ingenuity that went into kind of the grading plan. I think if I'd seen this plan with original permitting, I wouldn't have gone for it. That was kind of why we pushed for condition 10 and 11 in terms of trying to preserve trees and meet the essence of preserving the rural character. I think we heard plenty from abutters and people in town that were felt very strongly about this piece of land and how they wanted to remain kind of a wild feeling area. I do understand that the developer is retaining a large portion of undeveloped land, which is nice, but I was hoping that that look and feel would be integrated into the actual lot design, and that's why we wanted to keep some control. And I think that probably if this was discussed, I mean, it's probably pretty, I mean, maybe I'm naive to not look at the grading plan more, but I think that it's pretty obvious from the beginning that this was the way things were gonna go, maybe not. I'm kind of disappointed.
Brendan, can I add to what you just said?
Sure.
I agree with you. We did a subdivision in Cohasset, and I would tell you that we added more trees to the site after the site was built than what the town wanted, because we agree with the fact that we'd like to see more green trees and vegetation on the site, because it makes the site look a lot more presentable and livable. So we intend to do that, even though there's not a plan in front of you that would say that. But eventually, it's in our favor, because that's the kind of project that we usually do.
Right.
There is a landscape plan.
Yeah, I remember it. Yep. And then just one comment, I don't remember who said it, but someone made a comment about having large yard space, like cleared area. I can just say that I'm in landscape design and construction, and a lot of new, younger homeowners are actually, they don't really want big lawns and yards to maintain anymore. I think that there is a trend to create very marketable, well-priced homes that kind of shift the paradigm of our traditional lot development, and it's just something to kind of keep up on. So.
Yep, I didn't mean that,
Oh no, I know, I get it.
Yeah.
It's, people are used to some things.
Yeah, we did go out and really looked at the trees. The fall areas were not good. These buildings, with a 100-foot tree are pretty close to each other. I think the rural character is maintained by your buffers and the open space, and then we'll add in the landscaping. And I think at the end, I think it'll be a good project. We understand where you're coming from, though.
I do then look forward to a new and amended landscape design plan. Then I'd like to see more greenery. I have been to your project in Cohasset. I have seen that, so I know where it is. And I have to tell you, I agree with Ben. I passed that time in my life, but I don't see kids playing in yards anymore. You just don't see that. So I understand that people think that that's part of your house and your home, but I do agree with Ben. I think that a better design, you don't have to focus so much on all that green space, since the water and everything else is disturbed by all that pesticides and whatnot.
I just want to point out that when I did say large yard, we wanted to reduce the front and make the backyard larger.
Well, I still understand that, but I still don't see that much.
A lot of people don't want to maintain all of that.
Yeah.
They don't. They really don't. So,
So I think the one thing, just in terms of discuss, I would like to make sure that John's comment gets addressed, comment 1, where he talks about his comment 1 gets resolved in final site plans.
Will do. I called and spoke with John this afternoon.
I just want it to be part of the discussion.
Okay, if the changes are approved, there should be a condition to address this aspect, right, in the final set of plans. That's what we're looking for. Okay? All right. And the final site plans will be approved by the board or town plan. There was some discussion about the gravel driveway. Was that resolved?
No, the gravel has not been resolved. I mean, John has been out there, John goes out there when he's called out there. He's been out there a lot more frequently on this project, and between that and the plan changes with an extra expedited testing, John may be over budget, and you'll have to pay for that.
Of course.
The gravel has been tested in several places, didn't pass. They've just done new gravel testing the other day, and they're waiting for the results of the testing. So it's going to be, the gravel has to pass prior to having the paving go down before they can start doing foundations.
Okay.
That's part of the construction
Right.
inspection process, so.
Yes.
Okay.
And then the telephone, the pole needs to be moved.
That was approved.
That was approved the other night, but the telephone wires still need to be addressed. I don't know how you're resolving the telephone wires.
Yep, so that's all in, Verizon, National Grid Co. on the pole, and they have their plan for removing and relocating all of the phone wires, the pole, et cetera. Since Karen brought up the roadway, so part of one of the notes on the approval is we have to come here for approval to proceed to phase 2. One of the conditions being the board's acceptance of the as-built condition as certified by our design engineer. So we provided that a week ago. I wasn't sure if that was the topic of discussion for today or not. But since we brought it up, I'd like to confirm that you guys do accept the as-built that we've submitted. And
I did forward you the as-built. I didn't forward you the revised as-built that I just got. I mean, we just got this material. I mean, John's report basically says that he thinks that the 3 feet of separation is maintained based on the as-built.
Okay.
Because they did the surface location of the test pit, and everything seems to be showing everything right. I don't know if he said anything in his, I kind of told
His letter
him
didn't really address that.
to focus on the drainage, because I knew you were talking about the site plans tonight.
Okay.
I did forward some stuff to you. I just don't remember if I forwarded the revised as-built.
So
I don't remember seeing them.
we did additional test holes with John in May before starting construction to confirm groundwater elevations to move forward. We did that. We constructed the basins. Everything seems to be in order. We have a monitoring well out there that we measured and put an elevation. My surveyors located the elevation the day they were out there. That's on the plan. I think we had 4 feet of separation just about when they were out there between the bottom of the basin and the water table.
3.22 is what John and I talked about.
Yeah, that's from the estimated seasonal high groundwater from the test holes, but the actual water in the well was 4 feet separation. So the test holes, we look at modeling and estimate the high seasonal water. So that's what that's the design.
All right. You have your marching orders as far as I'm concerned, in terms of, we need to see that as-built. Also to addressing number 1, John Chesia. Steve, do you have anything else? How does the board feel? Is this minor?
Yeah, I think it's minor with conditions here that we address John's comments about this final site plans.
Okay.
So do you want to make a motion? I've just quickly drafted up a motion based on John's stuff and what Ben said. Move to approve changes to the layouts of each building shown on lots 1 through 5 as insignificant changes, provided an improved landscape design plan is presented to the board prior to implementation, and comment 1 of the Chesia letter dated November 23rd, 2021 is addressed.
In the final, yeah, in the final,
It's the 4th.
Oh, November 3rd.
November 3rd.
The
yeah.
Letter's November 3rd.
November 3rd, 2021.
Yep.
All right.
I'm sorry.
Let them vote on, right,
Okay,
hold on.
sure.
Right, because,
I was just confused with your last comment on the as-built. You're saying that we have our marching orders to submit it?
Yes.
That has been finalized and submitted. I'm just confused.
Well, we never saw it, so we need to see it. And, all right,
So I will forward the board the as-built.
okay. All right, you made the motion as moved. Is there a second?
Second,
Wait,
yeah.
do you want to, wait a minute, do you want to talk about this as-built? I mean, do you want to do it pending John's approval of the as-built?
Yes.
That's one you have not sent to us, though, right?
Right. I haven't seen it.
I don't believe
we
I
submitted that,
you know.
we emailed that, I forget which day, yeah.
Submitted a while ago, isn't it?
The,
It was only submitted this week.
yeah, it was actually, it was revised yesterday.
So,
Yes.
Submitted,
It's a little too quick for us.
Yeah.
October 28th.
It's a little too fast.
a little too fast is right. So,
We have a
When-
ton of paper to look at, so if you get it to us the day before, it's
Yeah.
Understood
unlikely.
this, well, we followed the protocol in here, and it didn't,
Yep.
talk about that. When is the next meeting? Because what I was gonna request, and signing off, by you signing off on this tonight, that would allow them to fix the issue with the subgrade. If they get that test back, then they could pave, because the plants are still open. So they're up against a
I
timeline.
understand.
So what are you proposing?
Would like, if you sign off on this and that they pass the test, then I think they can order the asphalt to go down. If you're out a month, then the asphalt plants are gonna be closed. 2 weeks is tight even, right? Because I don't know when they're gonna close.
And I apologize for muddying the waters. We wanted to consider two separate items, first being item number 10, which is what we just discussed, and then second being, I apologize, I don't have the item number in front of me, but that is
28.
28, thank you. That's the acceptance of the as-built, and then also, would be final paving on the road, or base of the road.
And just so you know, with the base of the road, they sieve tested it at the gravel site, and it passed. And they bring it and they compact it, and it didn't pass. It's not like they threw silt in it, they put it down and wanted it to pass, and it's not passing for them. So they're in a bind too. They didn't want that to happen. So they're trying to find solutions.
Karen, how can we best resolve this?
So one way to resolve this is just to add another sentence onto the motion, and pending Chesia Consulting's review, excuse me, sorry, and approval of the as-built per condition 28.
And town planners.
All right.
Not just Chesia, but you need to sign off on it too.
Right.
Okay.
Could you add, sorry, just the way it's written is we have to appear, to be given approval to proceed with the second phase?
I'm not approving you to go into the second phase till after.
Well, no, I'm sorry, part of that motion was, pending John Chesia's review, period, and I was just saying, can we add?
As,
is it a-
on
is
the
it a
as-built.
Conditional approval, pending his approval of the as-built, we have permission to proceed with phase 2, was my question.
No, that has nothing to do with it, does it, Karen?
Well, no, you have to get the binder down
Right.
first before we can go
Right.
into phase 2.
Okay.
So
Right.
once the binder goes down, and
Then we can come back and get approval for phase 2?
then
Is
phase
that-
2, can go,
Right.
Should we, my question is, should we, we've demonstrated the as-built, it sounds like John's provided some initial comments that he accepts the as-built. We have the road base that has to have its approval, the proctor goes down, and then we put down the base portion of the road. can we have this conditional approval that we meet those requirements? Because again, just because we're up against weather and time is the reason that I was bringing that up. We're here today. I was hoping that we could address both items rather than, we're going to hit the milestones as we're calling for them, and then we'd have to come back in again to say we hit the milestones. I was just asking, since we discussed it today, can we have the conditional approval?
Those are the last items before Phase 2 hits, this discussion about the buildings, the approval of the interim as-built, and then Phase 2 is a go. And just
Karen?
What about Phase 2 also needs the binder coursed down and approved.
Right, correct.
So that's what we're discussing, yeah. So can we have contingent approval to move to proceed to Phase 2 pending the acceptance of the as-built which we've submitted and John has provided initial comments on, and the base course of the binder of the road going down?
It's not just going down, it has to be
accepted.
Oh, yeah.
It has to be accepted.
We built it according with the plans and the requirements.
Karen?
That would help us tremendously with the weather.
I mean, if you want me to add, a pending Chester Consulting and Town Planner review and approval of the as-built plan per condition 28 and the base course of the road being laid, Phase 2.
Being laid and approved.
Be laid and approved.
By, our engineer, right? And town planner.
Mm-hmm.
Phase 2 then can proceed. I mean, Phase 2 is going to involve signing off on a building permit.
Right.
So, I mean, I'm not going to sign off on a building permit until everything's
As it
ready.
should be.
Right.
We
That's why you
appreciate
get the last word.
Thank you. Yeah.
I think, if we're gonna treat this as a minor change, we should
Right.
try to step out of the timeline that's already in process.
And I apologize to add one more item, but we had discussed, one of the other items was the review and acceptance, walking with Karen of the trees to be identified and saved, and we didn't identify any. Can we also document that's accepted? It's just one of the other approval notes in there. I just want to make sure that we check the box.
I didn't find any, I mean, because
It's
of the way.
accepted subject to the submittal of the revised landscaping plan.
I mean,
That's
I
what I
didn't
would say.
I didn't find any trees really that could be saved that were within the grading area, because they were gonna have so much fill. And you don't want the tree, after the last storm, nobody wants any trees falling on a house. And so it says, the site engineer and site landscape architect shall review the lots in the field prior to clearing in consultation with the town planner and/or planning board.
It's right there. We don't.
It already says town planner, so
Right.
that's
I've already
okay.
done it.
Set.
It's up to you.
I just wanted to make sure we were all set.
I think we're.
That's your
okay.
call.
There's a lot of things, so.
Too
A lot of
much.
items to check.
Well, all right.
It's
No more.
unfortunate.
We're done.
I'll zip it up now.
Okay. We have a motion as amended. Is there a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Good night, gentlemen.
Thank you.
Thank you.
All right.
Easy, huh?
Now we have 6 McDonald Terrace. Where's Mr. Berwick?
He's out in the hallway.
Yep. Thank you, gentlemen.
Thank you.
Some of those trees were really weak. I don't know if you guys saw in Aberdeen, one of the trees in their backyard fell and took out their porch and a section of their roof. Really unfortunate. Yeah. And then I drove
I've never
down.
seen so much destruction.
Yeah. I was down
Oh, it's 4 trees.
Arbor Way today on my way here, and I was blown away by the amount of debris along the road. I had to swerve into the other lane. There's so much in the street.
It's always full, actually. It's like a microburst went through that whole, like his whole house. You couldn't see his house. Oh, the stuff on it.
Thank you, Karen. Sorry.
I wasn't really paying.
Sorry.
You can have it all.
Take all your stuff.
On the tree.
Thank you.
All right. Mr. Berwick,
Good evening.
you are here for an extension for your special permit.
Correct. It was
Karen.
extended.
Why don't you let me-
It was
Tell us.
It was extended a year ago, October 13th, 2020. It was a unanimous vote to extend for 1 year with an option to extend for 1 additional year. So I'm requesting that extension at this time.
Okay. Karen?
So Mr. Barrett was given a number of reasons, he had to return to the design review committee to have who recommended changes to the plans. We have 18 Ford going on right next door, and so implementing 2 projects in that close proximity would be, shall we say, more than a little tight. And there's a tenant still in the building that he's trying to, has been promised will be out very soon. I think it makes sense, he's been trying to do the development, I think it makes sense to extend it for another year.
Comments from the board?
Yeah, I'm okay with it. This is the last extension,
I hope so.
you would expect?
Yeah, I mean, this is in keeping
We
with what you
haven't
said.
accounted for any more, so.
All right,
Let's get it right and not have to do it again.
right. Okay, get that 10 out. I move to accept Bob Berwick of RJB Development Corporation request to extend the special permit for mixed-use development in the Village Business Overlay District for 6 McDonald Terrace for 1 year until December 12, 2022, in accordance with the letter submitted by Mr. Berwick dated 10/20/21. Is there a second?
Second.
Further discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Thank you.
Now we have, and we're on time. We have a Form A for 46 Hollitt Street. This is going to be a Hummer. Don't do that. We'll all be asleep.
Good evening. For the record, Gregory Morse, registered engineer, Morse Engineering, representing the property owner, Chris Horn, who's with us in the audience tonight. Take Form A out of Mr. Horn's property at 46 Hollitt Street. 46 Hollitt Street is approximately 1.5 acres in size. The proposal here is to cut it into 2 lots, as depicted on the plan before you. The property has frontage on Hollitt Street, which is a town-accepted way. Lot 1 would be the rear lot here, being 41,000 square feet in size, with a minimum of 50 feet of frontage. Lot 1 has been to the Zoning Board of Appeals and received a special permit from the record of the town for a 50-foot. Lot 2 would remain 20,000 square feet with the requisite 100 feet of frontage on Hollitt Street. We believe the plan is entitled to endorsement because both have vital access and frontage on a town-accepted way.
Karen?
All right, so I have been going round and round with town council on this Form A, because while I agree with Mr. Morris, they both have frontage and access on a road. What they're doing is creating a nonconformity to their existing lot. So, which you are allowed to create nonconforming lots, that is a true statement, but she at first told me that you need the Form A first and the common driveway. When I conversed with her yesterday, she was thinking that they both ought to be done simultaneously. Because it's a fair thing to say that by doing this Form A, they are they're putting their own lot at risk if a common driveway is not granted, as the existing house will be non-conforming, and there could be enforcement. And so that is an issue. We kind of talked it over, and perhaps if the applicant will agree to a condition being that the A&R cannot be recorded unless and until a common driveway permit is granted by the planning board, then that seems to solve the problem.
Yeah, I believe we'd be fine with a condition to that effect. As shown on the plan, the issue really is lot width. Typically, your lot width is measured parallel to the street in the front. However, when you have a common driveway, you're allowed to measure the common driveway lot width, essentially front to back on the property. Lot 2 would be compliant as soon as a common driveway is approved on this lot. I had reached out previously to the town planner in an email asking if you wanted the Form A application or the common driveway application first, and the response was that you couldn't file a common driveway application without lots, which is why we filed the Form A. We have a note on the plan here specifically that Lot 1 is not a buildable lot and Lot 2 is not a buildable lot until the common driveway is approved by the planning board. That is noted on this plan. I also provided 3 examples.
Don't go into the examples.
No, you don't need to go into that. We're dealing with, just with this, nothing else.
Sure. So in looking at endorsement of the Form A, I believe that, as the town planner said, you are allowed to endorse plans that create a zoning nonconformity. The nonconformity really only takes place when there's a conveyance of the lots. If my client retains ownership of lots 1 and 2, there is no issue due to the doctrine of merger. I believe Attorney Guard is with us as well tonight and could speak to that if you need further clarification.
Well, according to, if memory serves me correctly, having read the finding from the zoning board of appeals, this division of land was, you got your section 6 finding dependent upon a common driveway. So you couldn't have one without the other. So that's,
Right, so they can't get a building permit for Lot 1 on its own.
Right.
They just can't do it. I mean, it's a tough, town council has gone round and around on this, and this is the, as soon as this is recorded, it creates the nonconformity.
so,
It's not just when it's conveyed, as soon as it's recorded. So that's why she thought if we put this language on it, then that would solve the problem.
And does that present any issues with then filing the common driveway application?
they can't file it until they have the plan for the common drive. We have to approve the common driveway, don't we?
That was the question I just asked.
No, so you don't record this plan right now, but technically, you have lots on a piece of paper.
So that's what I'm asking, can they then file a
Yes,
common driveway
yes,
application?
She's of the opinion that, yes, you
Okay.
can file a common driveway. But, she's been going round and round on this issue.
The town council says okay.
This is the wording I got from town council. They are deliberately creating a nonconformity if they don't get a common driveway.
Right.
And so this would seem to solve the problem.
That works for me.
So we need that condition.
So,
Right, so then I didn't revise the motion. I've been a little busy,
That's okay.
so adding to that motion there, this A&R cannot be recorded unless and until a common driveway permit is granted by the planning board.
Does that just need to be in the decision, or does it need to be on the
No, it's going to be written on the plan.
on the plan?
It's
Okay.
going to be actually written on the plan and in your motion,
Okay.
cannot be recorded until,
until a common driveway permit is granted by the planning board.
all right.
Does that work for you guys?
Yes, it does.
Got a quick question, just down the road. I'm fine with the plan as it is, but like, let's say 100 years from now, you know, two owners of each lot forward, and they're separate owners, would the smaller lot, which is lot 2, would lot 2 be obligated to go with a plan for lot 1? Like, let's say, you know, anytime in the future, the owner of lot 1 says, I'd like to build a dwelling, would then, if the owner of lot 2 is different than the owner of lot 1, would they be obligated to extend a common driveway? Not necessarily they pay for it, but they would have to accept.
Well, they're gonna
the
come
building.
in.
The definition of the common driveway is it feeds both lots, right?
Right.
True, but so it's not built yet, but let's say down the road some way, you know, somebody else buys lot 1 and says, hey, I'd like to build a house here. And the person on lot 2 with the existing house says, nah, I don't want you building the driveway. Like, I don't want a common driveway being built. Or is the owner of lot 2 obligated?
Well, wouldn't be a lot 1 until the
No.
plan was recorded, right? And it can't be recorded until there's a common driveway permit approved.
Okay.
Okay, so there is no lot 1,
All right.
yeah.
Okay. I move to endorse as approval not required a plan of land in Scituate, Mass., 46 Holland Street, Assessor's Parcel 13-1-4, stamped by Jason Scott, PLS, of Morse Engineering Company, Inc., for applicant/owner Christopher S. and Barbara M. Horn, dated July 15th, 2021, as the division of the tract of land shown on the accompanying plan is not a subdivision because every lot shown on the plan has frontage of at least the distance presently required by the Scituate zoning bylaw on the public way of Holland Street. This A&R, the condition, the A&R cannot be recorded until a common driveway permit is approved
By the planning board.
by the planning board.
Unless and until, you said, right? Yeah, you gotta put the unless and until.
Unless and until.
This A&R cannot be recorded unless and until a common driveway permit is granted by the planning board.
Gotcha.
And that will be noted on the plan.
It's gonna be written on the 3 copies and the Mylar, yes. Yes.
All right, is there a second as amended?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. Okay. All right, moving rapidly along.
Something can make sure it's
All right, the next item on our agenda is a general discussion of water study requirements. Karen?
All right, so I have been, when I received the scope of the sewer study for 7 New Driftway, it didn't include water. And DPW specifically said that a water study was required. So I had been communicating back and forth with Mr. Cafferty about what he wanted for the water study. He came up with a scope that was previously used before, and I adapted that scope based on Steve's recommendations. And so what I sent, what you have in your thing, everything except number 11 is in the typical town scope. And so, why don't you take it from here, Steve?
I did not.
You have to. I think that the challenge is that the previous typical scope didn't really address demand and supply. It only addressed the physical capacity of the mechanical and hydraulic system
I'm all
to
set.
handle a connection. So through a fairly lengthy back and forth, I think we settled on trying to address the capacity issue, or the demand and supply issue with item number 11. And, you know, it reads determine town's ability to meet demand of this project with the town's available supply on both an average day and peak month and peak day basis. So, in general, I think that sort of covers it, and I would suggest, and it will be up to the board, obviously, but I would suggest that be a standard for any future projects too, is that we need to keep track of what we are looking at and how it's impacting supply and demand. And I sent over to Karen last night, so it was pretty late.
I just printed out one.
Just some information I pulled out of the water study, okay? Just to give you a sense of kind of all of the issues that I think, this is a very broad general statement, but there's a lot of detail, and the devil's in the detail on how this gets done, and whether you account for drought conditions, right? And in my view, if you look at the analysis that, Teagan Bond went through, if you do an average day analysis, everything looks rosy, right? But we don't have a system that works to an average day. And even if you do an average day analysis, if you did that in drought conditions, I suspect we would still have trouble, right? But when you compound that with the summer period where we close to double on our peak day demand and at least 50% increase on the peak month demand, then when you add something to it, you're adding to that peak, right? You're adding demand to that peak, but we're not adding supply to that peak. And that's the gap, I think, that we need somebody to address. I think this takes a very careful sort of analysis to include all those pieces, right? And that's kind of what I sent out yesterday, was just some of the pieces, and as you start to walk through it, you can see all the components, right? Do we address, at least required stream flows? Do we address fish ladder flows, in this analysis? Or are we going to sacrifice those flows for adding another development? I mean, those are the kind of decisions I think we're facing, right? And so in my view, we need this analysis done, and the first time we do it, it's going to be harder, because I don't think we're making it up from whole cloth, because I think this has been done in many different places, but we're going to need to go through it and make sure we agree with the assumptions that are made as we do that. And, then the chips will fall where they may in terms of the actual analysis. And if the analysis suggests the adding of this project, and by the way, the data I gave you was only good through 2018, right? So we've got close to 3 additional years of data that I have no idea what it looks like. So, we've got to start somewhere, add all the new projects that have already been approved, and then say what happens when we add this project, and then what happens when we add the project that's down on 3A, it's 200 and I forget how many units. I think we just need a methodology to look at it, and I think that's really kind of what we expected out of the master plan, right? That was one of the things we had to address. And I think we should start now. We shouldn't wait, and we shouldn't, be afraid to say we need this, right? We just need somebody to do it. And if it's not within the capability of the DPW, or they won't, have their consultant do it, then we should get somebody else to do it. And that's sort of my pitch. But in any event, I think it needs to be a standard approach in any new development. Just like, when you look at this study that they propose to look at the capacity of the sewer system, right? So in my mind, there's no difference from looking at the capacity of the water system. And the one that, did you send this out to other people, Karen?
I don't remember now.
No. The one that sort of struck me in the water study is they did an analysis of the maximum day demand, baseline demand, of our current production capability versus demand, and the demand was higher than the production capability. That's assuming we have 2 wells off. But the interesting thing about that is they also provided, sort of early on, some data about the current production capacity in drought conditions. And in those drought conditions, those 2 wells produced nothing. So I think that's where we're going. To me, that's the key, is evaluating that peak condition situation.
Well, you have to remember too, well, 17A is due to come online in the next month. I mean, that's been under construction, and it's due to come online in the next month to 2 months.
Yeah, and I would say that, that analysis could start with what's our current capacity, then talk about future capacity, right? And if we're sure that these, some of these things like the Dolan wells and all these other things, they're years out, right? And so I don't think we can make decisions today that are projecting that whatever plan we have in place, that could be 2, 3, 5, who knows how many years out. I don't think we should rely on that. We should say, what's our current production capacity? What's near term that there is relative high probability that it's going to show up? And that's what we should do. And by the way, all this analysis was done without accounting for, minimum stream flows, without accounting for minimum fish ladder flows. And I just don't think we should be making decisions to sacrifice one for the other. But we are where we are today, and then we should figure out how we get from where we are to a better situation. But without some kind of sort of, standard analysis, I don't see how we're ever going to get there.
So Steve, does this then predicate us to be able to answer that why do you keep zoning if we don't have any water?
I think this is where we're going.
Okay.
Right? I mean, so you're going to get 2 answers to that, right? The first answer is, average day basis, yeah, we got plenty of water, right? But, the real world doesn't function that way, right? Our problem in town is peak, right? That's our big problem. And particularly during drought conditions, right? So that's what we ought to be using as a benchmark for what the impacts are. And if the increasing capacity in the peak time, if they've figured out how to do that, then that would be great, right? But I don't think we should, like in the past, the analysis has been, well, yeah, we have plenty of permitted capacity as an average day. That gets us nowhere, I think, other than creating bigger and bigger pressure, because we keep approving things based on that, creating more pressure on peak days and peak months.
The town has to provide water to a development.
If we don't have the water, we're not providing it.
Town has to provide water to a development is what I've
Well, the
been told.
developer will have to help mitigate the opportunity to provide that capacity then. If you don't have it, you can't deliver it to them. Or what you're saying, Karen, is that it's acceptable to diminish the service to the entire connected load right now in order to get the next 21 units in place, or whatever.
I'm not saying,
I don't believe that.
I'm not saying that. I think that that's something that should be a conversation that's had with the DPW and water. I'm just saying, I've been told in the past, you cannot refuse to provide water to a development.
So you take that this as a stepping off point to start that conversation, to say,
You got to start somewhere, right?
Yeah,
And,
like I said.
if somebody tells me I can't do that and we don't have the capacity, then we're between the rock and the hard place, right? But at this point, I feel like all we're doing is we're leaning on that explanation and just sort of burying our head in the sand. And I don't think we should. At least, we're supposed to be the planning board, right? I think the water department's concerned about whether, when they connect the pipe, there'll be enough water flowing, physically in the pipe, right? I'm worried about what it's gonna look like for the whole town as we keep adding these, these giant straws to the system.
So Karen, I understand if somebody from DPW or sewer comes to us and says, our policy is to provide water, okay, that is our policy, but we don't have any water, we can't provide, this is kind of, it's not a double-edged sword, it's kind of black and white, and I'm gonna tell you, the average person sitting at home doesn't have a clue that, I'm thinking, I'm gonna make an assumption, that they don't assume that, they only know that we don't have water when we have water restrictions. And so that, again, over and over is, why do you keep allowing building if we don't have any water? Well, we can't answer that question because they keep telling us we have to provide water for every development.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I'd say if the analysis shows that we don't have water during the peak periods, then the question, if they want to supply water, is how are you going to do it? Tell me how you're going to do it. You can't make it out of whole cloth, right? So,
what if we put together like a regional, or got like a regional agreement? I think that this would happen above like the town level, but if, the towns down here that work off well systems or surface water systems got together and work together to do a large-scale infrastructure project to tie into the MWRA's, the substation that they have in Quincy or Weymouth. And, and then we're just working off of Quabbin or Wachusett, I think, and all of the water plans, maybe save like the surface water that we have for, for extreme situations. And then we can either minimize or stop worrying about drilling wells that either will perform or will fail when we don't want them to fail, type of thing.
I think it's a great sort of long-term alternative to evaluate. It's not something that I think the planning board can do. And when you get into things like that, you now have to look at, sort of water system transfers, right? Now you're transferring from watershed to another. Right, and that's not something that the towns can make a decision on. Actually, DEP has to make a decision on that. And it's a long-term process. It could take many years for that to happen. In the meantime, people are walking in and say, I want to build, a 30-unit subdivision or whatever. So we've got to make decisions with some level of knowledge. And that's why I'm saying it's great to have plans that say, in the future, we'll have enough capacity. But we're not talking about the future. We're talking about the here and now. Right, and if it's the immediate future, if it's next month, then I say, okay, and that sounds, tell us about how much that's going to add and how we know that and all that, and that's fine. But if it's 4 years out and we're looking at something today, I would say, that's going to be prospective, right? And we don't know if it'll ever get permitted. Right? So you have to look at it in both directions. Yeah, we'll get it, or no, we'll never get it. So
I think as the planning board, this is really blue sky thinking. Really out there, and maybe accept the challenge to see if we can.
Well, I guess I would disagree that it's blue sky thinking. I think it's planning, right? Okay. In my view, it's just planning, right? Mm-hmm. And it's not something we've done in the past.
Yes, it is. Not the planning board, but it was done.
Well, I'm talking about us here, right? And it's not something we've done we didn't do it with the Toll Brothers development, right? We sort of, the answer there was, the average day usage, we had plenty of water, right? Do we really? And we've been asking for this. I know I've been asking for this for 2 years, right? So I just think we're at this stage that we got to do it.
All right, I think that this encompasses more than really just the planning board. I think the selectmen, as the water commissioners, also need to be involved in this. A number of years ago, CEI did a study on water and availability and the number of units that could be built considering the capacity that we had at that time. And to a certain extent, it was arbitrary. But there was a public meeting that included anybody and everybody that wanted to go. And if this is something that we want to get involved in, and I certainly agree that we need, as planners, we need to think about that, but it encompasses more than just us. It encompasses the selectmen as the water commissioners, and they need to weigh in on this, as well as, okay, we have DPW, we have water, the person that's in charge of the water treatment plant, and so on and so forth. This is not something that can be done piecemeal. It has to be a plan that is approved and encompassed by everybody. And I think the selectmen, in one sense, I understand where you're coming from, Steve, but the selectmen are the water commissioners, not us.
I will tell you, Ian, the selectmen aren't sitting here looking at a development and having to say yes and no. So, you know, with all due respect, we've been asking for this for years, and at the end of the day, it's our job to make this decision. And I say this is what we need to make this decision. And whether people agree with it or not, that's what I'm saying, we need. And, you know,
Well, let me say.
I'm not going to wait for somebody else while the next three projects go through and get approved.
I'm not suggesting that we wait.
Okay.
I'm suggesting that, when is this matrix that's supposed to happen with John Clarkson and the planning person?
I don't know, it got postponed from his.
Yeah, don't bet on that.
All right.
I think we have to say, this is what we want, and we've said it, number 11, right? And then it has to be done
But you're
in a way.
putting number 11 on one applicant.
Right.
No, I'm going to pin it on every applicant
Yeah,
that
but this
comes
is
through.
the applicant that's come forward at this moment in time.
It's, you know, it's luck of the draw, right? It's luck of the draw. How many applicants had to do this comprehensive a water study?
Everything except number 11 has been done before.
How many times?
I don't know.
Right.
I was
There
given
are
this.
plenty of applicants who've come
I was
through here and
given
didn't do
scope-
this,
I was
right?
given this scope from DPW with everything except number 11 that has been done before. So
It's fine.
I just need to know what I'm sending to the applicant.
Well, I suggest we send this to the applicant.
Yeah, I think I'm with Steve on this. It's been, we need to start somewhere, and we've been saying that for a long time, and I think this will help provide some action to the answer, to finding the answers that we were looking for. I think there's going to be certainly some trial and error, because there's no standard methodology per se of what we want to see, but I think that will be up for us or the water department to decide when we see it. You know, how are you evaluating this? What does that analysis look like? And what are the results from that? And I think that, I don't know, I just think we have to start somewhere, and I think that this would be a good addition to a true water study and to evaluate the impact of the development.
That's what we want to try to do.
We're not trying to take away the water commissioner's job, but the Board of Selectmen has a liaison who does not come to see what it is that we're doing. And perhaps the Board of Selectmen need to be led to what it is that needs to be done. I mean, while, I sit here with two people who are engineers who understand this stuff really well, I don't know that that's present at all on the Board of Selectmen. We should benefit from these people's experience and lead the town into a better, robust system that we have.
I agree. I just don't think we're going to get it any other way than to ask for it on a case-by-case basis. And I'm not picking on these particular proponents. It's just, we're at the stage. We got the master plan acknowledged at town meeting, right? Master plan says we're supposed to address, particularly water drought issues, right? And in my view, this is a way to do it. This will at least, we will control our own destiny this way. If we leave it to somebody else, I think we're going to get the same answers we've gotten all along.
All right, so where do we go from here?
I think we ask them to do what we've asked them to do.
All right, well, then.
And I think we, in my view, we should scrutinize that ourselves to make sure we're comfortable with the analysis, and I would expect any future applicant to do the same thing. And the fact of the matter is, once you do it once, it's going to be easier to do the next time and the next time, right? Because you're going to have sort of a bank now. You're going to have an accounting, and you'll be able to see kind of how that plays out.
Okay.
And this sort of all addresses, this is sort of thinking about it at one level, which is the whole system, right? That's not even talking about, okay, where these guys are connected, are they only served by a subset of the system? And does that put a different kind of pressure on that piece of the system too? But, they should be able to answer those questions.
Like I said, all the time we hear on the I&I, see, the point has been, fix, so we're gonna have this kind of capacity. Well, how long do we think those pipes are gonna last for? Salt water's pouring into them all the time. Deteriorating.
Yeah, I mean, it's the same thing on the sewer side, right? So same thing. That's one of the things I point out is that they have to include unaccounted for water in the analysis, right? Because 10% of what we send out never gets to anybody, right? So, and actually they've done a much better job in the last few years on that than, 5 or 6 years ago. It was 15 or 20%. So that's good, and, but the DEP standard is try to get to 10%. So we should at least, recognize that and do the analysis based on those. And I suspect we could go to the DEP and ask them for help on this, and they would be happy to do that as well.
All right, so, Karen,
Seem to want to send this out with as is. I'll send it out tomorrow.
I could potentially see changing the numbering, but
Changing,
swap it for maybe farther up.
but
In the list, just
just give it some emphasis.
well, yeah, just so it's at a higher level, I guess, in the hierarchy, and also just number 10 is like asking for a deliverable, so it might be good to just have that.
So that should be,
higher.
number 10 should be
I don't-
number 11, yeah.
Could either, I don't know.
At least 11 should be switched with 10, because, like you were saying, like.
It's
number-
arbitrary, really,
Yeah.
to me, but where.
Because
It's
number
kind of a
11
good point,
should be
though,
included
Ben, in terms of what it says. It says determine.
No, just like the placement there. So on number 10 is kind of like the wrap-up one, which just says prepare
Yeah.
a letter of report.
No, I get that, but
evaluation.
I'm going to the wording here. It says determine. I guess they've used that in the past. Our expectation is there's going to be some kind of evaluation that backs this up. Not just a sentence that says we've determined, right? So,
So if,
Provide evaluation of the town's ability
yeah,
to take out determine, and then just provide evaluation of the.
yeah, I think that might be better.
and if there's pushback, let them come and talk to us, and we can,
Yeah.
okay, all right.
And I would say, Karen, if we had any, if anybody has any grant money, they want to help the proponent out to do this, I'm happy to help them.
Well, I'm not looking for grant money.
All I'm saying,
Well, we have a planning development person who's,
supposed to be getting the grant money.
right, somewhere. All right, Karen, I guess that's what's what.
Okay?
Okay.
These are in the parking lot. I don't know if they belong to anybody here or not. Pair of glasses. But if it was somebody at the meeting, it was beside a truck out there, so they either left or it was
is it a red truck?
beside a red truck.
Does look like mine.
Okay.
Thank you.
I didn't drive over them, so.
It's okay, they're like, they're more than twice. $30, right?
Yeah, really.
That's 30, you only owe me 25.
Okay. All right.
Add it to my bill.
All right, moving along. Karen, planning development report.
So we set a meeting for the design review committee on November 16th, so I would hope 2 members of the planning board would come to that for 7 New Driftway. Drew is continuing along, Seaside's continuing along. We're hoping to wrap Inley up 48 New Driftway, the water's in. They're putting the footings on the canopy in the next week, and so they're working on the stormwater system. Finishing the canopy is critical to finishing the tank, so that's all moving along. We're working on zoning, lot shape, and we have some 810, 830 issues, and we're working on a marijuana bylaw. So
We have some what issues? 810?
810, 830, section 810, 830 of the zoning bylaw,
I don't know what those are.
non-conforming uses.
Oh,
It's something that Bob Vogel had brought last year and then withdrew it because,
Oh, I remember that.
Yep.
Yeah.
So it's
this is the ones that can't get rebuilt?
right.
Yes.
Yeah,
So
like condemned
Well,
or.
I mean, he's been working with town council on the wording, and we're having an informal we're having a meeting next week on it, and then at some point, I'm going to ask him to come to the planning board before we have a zoning workshop, so we can discuss it, just like we'll have another discussion about lot shape, but the basic lot shape discussion is I've reviewed it with the consultants, and they say, you're not gonna cover every circumstance, you gotta start somewhere.
Right.
This is the way to start. And that's pretty much things in a nutshell.
Okay. All right. Anybody else have anything that they would like to add or subtract? I'll entertain a motion to adjourn.
So moved?
A second? You've got that? All in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Okay, we're done. Thank you.